The winter of 1947 came colder than anyone remembered. Snowflakes drifted down over New York City like confetti falling after a forgotten celebration, painting the brownstones and the iron bridges in shades of white and silver. The city moved with its usual rhythm, hurried footsteps, honking cabs, and the endless echo of dreams. But beneath that, something quieter stirred, something fragile, warm, and new. Some said it was just the end of the war. Others said it was something else. But those who were there, those who walked under that soft glow of the streetlights, would later say that was the winter when New York fell in love. Eleanor Grace lived on the 5th floor of an old brick building on Bleecker Street. She was 27, a jazz singer at a small club called the Velvet Key, where the lights were dim and the air smelled faintly of whiskey and cigarette smoke. Her life was simple: mornings with black coffee, afternoons spent walking to the club, and nights filled with music and the quiet ache of waiting for something that never came. She had once been engaged to a soldier named James Monroe. He never came home from France. His last letter was a promise: when I come back, we'll dance under the city lights. But the war had other plans, and Eleanor had learned to sing through her heartbreak. Each night, when she sang "I'll Be Seeing You," her voice carried the weight of every love that never returned home. Across the street, in a little newsstand wedged between a bakery and a bookstore, worked a man named Samuel Wright. He was 32, a writer once full of promise, now surviving on small articles and short stories that never seemed to sell. His dreams had faded into the yellowed pages of rejection letters, but he kept writing because stopping felt like dying. Every night, when Eleanor walked home after her last set, she passed Samuel's stand. He was always there, packing up unsold papers, his scarf too thin for the cold. Sometimes they'd exchange a polite smile, nothing more. But one night, when snow was falling thicker than usual and the city seemed quieter than ever, she stopped. "You're still out here?" she said, her voice soft, almost lost in the wind. He looked up, startled. "Someone's got to deliver the truth to the people, even if no one wants it." He smiled, tiredly. "Truth?" She laughed lightly. "Most people just buy the paper for the crossword." That was how it began, not with fireworks or fate, but with a single conversation under a flickering streetlight. Over the following weeks, Eleanor found herself stopping by the newsstand more often. Sometimes for a paper, sometimes for a chat, and sometimes for no reason at all. Samuel would tell her about the stories he was writing, stories about hope, resilience, and the way people loved despite everything. She listened, her gloved hands wrapped around a paper cup of coffee, her eyes soft in the winter air. He began coming to her club too. Sitting at the back, where the lights barely reached, he'd listen to her sing, his heart sinking with the rhythm of her voice. He never told her, but he started writing again, not about war or loss, but about her, about the way her voice made even broken hearts believe they could love again. By February, the city had begun to thaw, and so had they. One evening, after her performance, Eleanor found Samuel waiting outside with 2 steaming cups of cocoa. "I thought you might need this," he said. "I thought writers only drank coffee." "Writers in love drink anything sweet," he said, without realizing what he'd just confessed. She looked at him, surprised. "In love, are you?" He hesitated. "Maybe. With the story, with the song, with the city that keeps surprising me." She smiled, her breath visible in the cold. "Good answer." They began walking together after that, through the glowing streets of New York, past Central Park where the lamplight shimmered on the ice, past diners where the jukebox played Sinatra and soldiers danced with nurses in uniform. The war was over, but love stories were just beginning to bloom across the city. Every corner seemed to hold a memory waiting to happen. One night, he took her to the top of the Empire State Building. The wind was sharp, but the view below looked like heaven, a million golden lights stretching into forever. "Do you ever think," he said quietly, "that maybe the city is alive, that it feels what we feel?" Eleanor looked down, the lights reflected in her eyes. "If it does," she said, Then tonight it feels hope." He turned to her, and in that moment, all the noise of the city disappeared. For the first time since the war, she felt safe. For the first time since losing James, she wasn't waiting anymore. Their kiss was soft, hesitant, real, the kind of kiss that makes the world stop for a heartbeat. But life in New York is never a straight line. Spring came, and with it, change. Samuel got an offer from a publishing house in Chicago as first real opportunity. His story, When the City Sleeps, had been accepted for a print. It was about a woman who sang her way out of heartbreak, and a man who sold papers but found poetry in every face he saw. "I should go," he told her one evening, as they stood outside the Velvet Key. "It's what I've been working for." Eleanor nodded, her smile brave but trembling. "Then you have to go. That's what dreams are for." "But what about us?" he asked. She looked at him, her eyes glistening like the Hudson at night. "You'll write, I'll sing, and maybe someday, our stories will find each other again." He left 2 days later. The city seemed quieter without him. She sang that night with tears hidden in her voice, the audience never knowing that every note was a goodbye. Months passed. The summer heat rolled in, bringing tourists and laughter and the hum of a city alive again. Eleanor sang through it all, her fame growing slowly. People came from uptown and downtown to hear the voice of New York, as newspapers began to call her. Then, one September morning, while reading the paper, she froze. On page 7 was Samuel's new column, "A Letters from a City I Left Behind." His words spoke of love and loss, of music that lingered even after the singer was gone. Every week, she'd buy the paper, read his words, and feel his presence across the miles. A year passed like that. Letters came, sometimes a short, thoughtful, always ending with, "Keep singing, Ellie, the city still listens." And then one December evening, as snow began to fall once more, she walked to her club to find the manager waiting with the telegram. "Big night tonight," he said with a grin. "Someone special's coming to see you." She laughed, shaking her head. "I've heard it before." But when she walked onto the stage that night, under the soft glow of the spotlight, she saw him sitting at his old table in the back, his hat in his hands, his eyes never leaving hers. Her heart nearly stopped. After the show, she found him outside, standing under the same streetlight where they had first spoken. "I thought you'd forgotten me," she whispered. "I tried," he said. "Didn't work." He handed her a small book, his newest one. On the cover it read, "When New York Fell in Love." "It's about us?" she asked, her voice trembling. "It's about everyone who ever dared to love in this city," he said softly. "But yes, it started with you." She opened the book, and on the first page was a dedication, "To the woman who made New York sing again." The snow fell heavier, the city glowing around them. He reached out, brushing a snowflake from her hair. "I came back," he said. "I had to." The story wasn't finished. Eleanor smiled through tears. "Then let's finish it together." They walked hand in hand through the streets, past the glowing windows and the Christmas lights. The city was alive again, a laughter from diners, carolers on corners, lovers skating in Central Park. It felt as though every brick-and window and lamplight was humming with the same rhythm, the rhythm of a city remembering how to love. In the years that followed, they became part of New York's pulse. Samuel's books filled shelves, his words painting the city with warmth and nostalgia. Eleanor's voice graced radio waves, her songs becoming the soundtrack of a generation that had seen war and chosen love instead. Sometimes, late at night, they'd walk the same streets where they'd first met, old but still in step. He'd bring her coffee, she'd hum an old tune, and they'd laugh at the way time had changed everything except what mattered most. And if you ask anyone who lived in New York during those years, they'll tell you the same thing. The city had never been kinder, never been softer, never been so full of hope. Because once upon a time, under a blanket of snow and the hum of streetlights, two broken souls found each other, and the whole city learned to feel again. That was the winter when New York fell in love. And somehow, It never stopped.